In the vast theater of nations, there are moments when a single decision can alter the course of history. India, a land of immense diversity and resilience, now stands at the precipice of transformation. What we are witnessing is not just a policy, not just an economic shift, but a monumental move that carries with it the weight of 1 billion dreams. This is the story of India's great leap forward, its defining move. The strategic vision shaping India's future is not merely a document, nor is it confined within the walls of government chambers or think tanks. It is a living, breathing force that has emerged from centuries of resilience, culture, and ambition, now channeled into a blueprint that seeks to transform a nation of 1.4 billion into a global leader. Vision is not about reacting to the present. It is about anticipating the future, about understanding where the tides of history are flowing and positioning oneself not just to ride the waves, but to steer them. India, in this moment, has begun to define such a course. This vision is born from a recognition that no nation rises to greatness without clarity of purpose, unity of direction, and the courage to commit to bold decisions, even when the world doubts its path. At its heart, this strategic vision is rooted in the idea of self-reliance, not as isolation, but as empowerment. For decades, India's growth has been entangled with external dependencies on resources, on technologies, on global markets that often dictated the pace of its advancement. Now, however, the story is different. India seeks to stand not as a dependent player, but as an architect of its destiny, reducing vulnerabilities and increasing its capacity to influence outcomes on the world stage. Such a path requires meticulous planning, not just for the next year or election cycle, but for decades ahead. It requires thinking in centuries, as great civilizations once did, aligning short-term struggles with long-term triumphs. The vision is also shaped by India's unique position in the global landscape. Few countries straddle both tradition and innovation as seamlessly. Here lies a civilization older than most nations combined, and yet it pulses with the youngest population in the world. This duality provides India with a remarkable advantage. Its strategic future is not merely about adopting the technologies of today, but fostering an ecosystem where tomorrow's breakthroughs are imagined and created. The digital revolution in India, from mobile connectivity to financial inclusion, is already a testament to how foresight and planning can uplift millions in a single sweep. The challenge now is to extend this revolution to new domains: artificial intelligence, green technology, biotechnology, and space exploration. These are not simply tools for prestige. They are weapons of survival and prosperity in a rapidly evolving world. The strength of a strategic vision also lies in its inclusivity. A vision that caters only to the privileged few cannot sustain itself for long. India's blueprint acknowledges that progress is meaningless if it does not touch the lives of the common citizen, farmers in remote villages, workers in sprawling factories, students in overcrowded classrooms. Every reform, every initiative, every bold step forward must carry with it the promise of lifting lives. This is what differentiates mere ambition from true vision. The ability to translate grand goals into tangible benefits for ordinary people. When citizens feel empowered, when they sense that the future belongs to them, they themselves become the engines of transformation. Equally, a strategic vision must confront the challenges that lie ahead. For India, these challenges are immense. Balancing economic growth with environmental sustainability, navigating complex geopolitical rivalries, addressing income inequality, and ensuring social harmony in the face of diversity. Each of these obstacles could derail progress if ignored. Yet when faced head-on with foresight and determination, they become opportunities for innovation. The ability to transform challenges into opportunities is the hallmark of great nations, and India's vision is deliberately designed to harness these tests as catalysts for growth. At the global level, this vision positions India as a stabilizing force in a turbulent world. With shifting alliances, trade wars, and the uncertainties of climate change, the world yearns for leaders who can guide with wisdom rather than domination, with collaboration rather than coercion. India's strategic plan embraces this role, not through imposing power but through demonstrating the power of example. By strengthening its democracy, by proving that economic growth and social justice can advance together, India aspires to offer a model that inspires others. In a century where narratives of division and domination often prevail, India's story could well become the antidote the world so desperately seeks. Yet at its core, what makes this vision remarkable is its human spirit. 1 billion dreams cannot be governed by policies alone. They must be united by a belief in a shared future, a collective confidence that tomorrow will be brighter than today. This is the essence of India's strategic vision, to instill hope where there is doubt, strength where there is weakness, and progress where there has long been stagnation. And note, it is not merely a political or economic program. It is the crystallization of a nation's identity, a bold declaration that the time has come to rise, not tentatively, but with purpose and determination. Economic independence and global influence are two forces intertwined in the destiny of any rising power, and for India, they represent both a challenge and an opportunity of historic proportions. Economic independence does not mean closing borders or rejecting global engagement. Rather, it means ensuring that the foundations of prosperity are not dictated by external forces, but shaped by internal strength. For centuries, India's economy was molded, manipulated, and often exploited by others, whether through colonial rule or through imbalanced trade structures that limited its freedom to act. Today, however, the narrative is shifting. India is increasingly refusing to remain a passive participant in the global economy. Instead, it is seeking to define the terms of engagement, to strengthen its capacity from within, so that external pressures cannot destabilize its ambitions. The pursuit of economic independence begins with self-sufficiency in critical sectors. Energy, food security, defense, and technology all form the pillars upon which a nation's resilience is built. India understands that true sovereignty cannot exist if it is perpetually reliant on others for the essentials of survival and progress. By investing in renewable energy, building robust agricultural systems, fostering indigenous defense manufacturing, and developing homegrown technology platforms, India is not only reducing dependency, but also creating new avenues for innovation and employment. Such self-reliance feeds directly into global influence. For a nation that stands firm on its own foundations commands respect in international negotiations. Global influence, in turn, is not simply a matter of military strength or economic size. It is about the ability to shape narratives, to become indispensable to the functioning of global systems, and to project values that others admire and adopt. India's economy, with its vast market and expanding consumer base, is becoming one of the great centers of gravity in the world. Multinational corporations look to India not just as a site of production, but as a laboratory of ideas, a testing ground for innovation, and a launchpad for global strategies. This immense economic weight allows India to wield soft power, power that is not enforced but invited, power that draws others into its orbit willingly. The journey toward economic independence also emphasizes resilience against global shocks. The world has seen how pandemics, financial crises, and geopolitical conflicts can disrupt supply chains and destabilize nations. For India, the lesson is clear. Resilience comes from diversification and domestic capacity. When the supply of essential goods is secure at home, when industries are supported by robust policies, and when innovation thrives in universities and startups, external crises become less threatening. This resilience is itself a source of global influence, for nations and corporations alike gravitate toward stability in uncertain times. By becoming a hub of resilience, India enhances its attractiveness as a partner and as a leader. Anchor. Economic independence further ties into India's demographic strength. A young, dynamic workforce gives the nation a unique advantage at a time when many economies face aging populations. If nurtured through education, skills development, and entrepreneurship, this workforce can become the engine of self-reliant growth. It can also transform India into a talent hub that powers industries across the globe. The export of not just goods but knowledge, innovation, and skilled human capital enhances India's influence in ways that cannot be measured purely in numbers. Nations that supply solutions and talent inevitably gain a voice in shaping global decisions. Trade, too, becomes a tool of influence when pursued strategically. India's vast domestic market ensures that foreign powers cannot ignore it, while its growing industrial capacity allows it to negotiate from a position of strength. By balancing imports with robust exports, by insisting on fair trade agreements, and by building regional partnerships, India strengthens its hand in global economic governance. When combined with initiatives to promote local industries under frameworks like a Make in India or digital transformation projects, this approach signals to the world that India is not simply open for business. It is setting the terms of business. Yet global influence is not merely transactional. It is also about values and credibility. India's democratic ethos, its emphasis on inclusivity, and its cultural richness all add depth to its economic story. An economy driven solely by profit may rise and fall with the markets, but an economy rooted in values endures and inspires. India's soft power, from its traditions of yoga and spirituality to its vibrant cinema and cuisine, reinforces its global identity. When combined with growing economic clout, these cultural exports create a multifaceted influence that goes beyond boardrooms and trade agreements, reaching into the hearts of people worldwide. At the same time, economic independence must not be confused with isolation. To quote, India's future lies not in turning away from the world, but in engaging with it from a position of strength. Strategic independence allows India to choose partnerships without being bound by dependency, to collaborate as an equal rather than as a subordinate. And this balance of self-reliance and openness defines the modern vision of economic independence, a model that seeks to integrate with the world while safeguarding national interests. Such a model not only empowers India, but also reshapes global systems, offering an alternative to extremes of protectionism and blind globalization. The confluence of economic independence and global influence marks a defining chapter in India's story. Each step towards self-reliance strengthens its credibility abroad, and every new layer of global influence reinforces its domestic confidence. Together, they form a cycle of empowerment, one that propels India closer to its rightful place as a shaper of world affairs, a nation whose decisions carry weight far beyond its borders and whose vision of prosperity inspires others to follow. Innovation as the new backbone of progress is not simply a slogan for India. It is a recognition that the very survival and prosperity of nations in the modern age depend upon their ability to create, adapt, and transform. In centuries past, power was measured in land, in armies, in the reach of empires. Today, while those elements still hold value, the true wealth of a nation lies in the ideas it generates and the technologies it brings to life. India, standing at a critical juncture in its development, understands that its path to greatness cannot rest on imitation or dependency. It must be driven by a culture of innovation that touches every sector of society, from agriculture to aerospace, from classrooms to laboratories, from rural communities to bustling megacities. At the core of this transformation is the realization that innovation is not confined to elite research centers or high-tech firms alone. It is born in the everyday struggles and solutions of ordinary people. A farmer finding a new method to irrigate crops with minimal water, a teacher adapting digital tools to reach children in remote villages, an entrepreneur using mobile technology to provide banking services to the unbanked. Each of these represents innovation in its most authentic form. India's strength lies in its ability to harness this grassroots ingenuity and amplify it with the power of science, technology, and industry. When everyday creativity is supported by strong institutions and visionary policies, the result is an unstoppable wave of progress. The government's role in nurturing innovation is crucial. Policies that encourage research and development provide incentives for startups and create ecosystems where ideas can flourish without excessive bureaucracy are all part of laying this new foundation. India has already witnessed a surge of entrepreneurial energy through its thriving startup ecosystem, one of the fastest growing in the world. From fintech to health tech, from e-commerce to renewable energy, Indian entrepreneurs are not just replicating global models, but creating uniquely Indian solutions that address local challenges while finding resonance globally. This is the hallmark of true innovation. It solves real problems and, in doing so, becomes exportable to the rest of the world. Education, too, stands at the heart of innovation. A young population brimming with potential must be equipped not only with knowledge, but with the skills to think critically, to question assumptions, and to create boldly. India's future innovators are being shaped in classrooms today, where the integration of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics with creativity and problem-solving is becoming increasingly vital. The expansion of digital learning platforms, the accessibility of online resources, and the bridging of rural-urban divides in education all contribute to building a workforce ready to lead in innovation. When knowledge flows freely and curiosity is encouraged, innovation becomes inevitable. Another essential element in making innovation the backbone of progress is collaboration. Innovation thrives not in isolation, but in networks, where ideas cross-pollinate and disciplines intersect. India's ability to foster partnerships between universities, industries, government bodies, and international players strengthens its innovation ecosystem. For example, collaborations in space technology, renewable energy, and biotechnology are already placing India on the global map as a hub of pioneering research and application. Such partnerships not only accelerate progress but also embed India within global innovation chains, ensuring that it contributes to and benefits from the collective advancements of humanity. The digital revolution underway in India is perhaps the most visible evidence of innovation's transformative power. In less than a decade, Mobile connectivity and digital payment systems have redefined how millions live and work. What was once seen as a distant dream has become daily reality for people in remote villages who now access services once available only in cities. The success of these innovations shows the potential of scaling ideas across vast and diverse populations. This ability to innovate at scale is what sets India apart, for few nations possess both the technological capability and the demographic magnitude to test and implement solutions on such a massive level. Yet innovation is not limited to technology alone. Social innovation, too, plays a defining role in India's progress. New approaches to governance, sustainable development, community health, and social inclusion are equally vital. Whether it is designing models to empower women in rural areas, building cooperative structures that support small farmers, or creating inclusive platforms that give voice to marginalized communities, India's innovation story is as much about people as it is about machines. A society that continuously reinvents how it solves its deepest challenges becomes a society that is resilient, adaptable, and forward-looking. In the global context, India's embrace of innovation enhances its standing as a leader in shaping the future. The world is watching as India launches affordable space missions, develops cutting-edge pharmaceuticals, pioneers green technologies, and contributes to artificial intelligence and data-driven economies. These achievements not only serve domestic needs but also position India as a provider of solutions to global challenges. Affordable vaccines, low-cost solar energy models, and digital infrastructure frameworks created in India are being studied and adopted worldwide. In this way, innovation becomes both a national asset and a form of soft power, elevating India's influence on the global stage. Ultimately, innovation as the new backbone of progress signals a profound shift in how India views its destiny. It is no longer sufficient to rely on inherited strengths or to follow paths already carved by others. The journey ahead demands that India writes its own narrative of progress, one driven by imagination, experimentation, and the courage to embrace the unknown. It is through innovation that India will not only secure prosperity for its people, but also contribute meaningfully to the advancement of humanity itself. The rise of sustainable power and energy in India represents more than an environmental shift. It is a redefinition of how a nation powers its ambitions, secures its independence, and positions itself on the world stage. For centuries, energy has been the lifeblood of economies, the hidden force behind every industrial revolution, every advance in technology, every stride in human progress. Yet the very sources that once fueled growth now threaten the stability of the planet, leaving nations with a pressing choice: continue on the path of unsustainable consumption or embrace a future built on renewable strength. India, with its vast population and expanding economy, understands the weight of this choice more than most. Its commitment to sustainable energy is not simply an environmental necessity, but a strategic decision that will shape its destiny for generations to come. At the heart of this transformation lies the recognition that dependence on fossil fuels weakens sovereignty. Imported oil and coal have long tied India's fortunes to volatile global markets and geopolitical rivalries. Every fluctuation in price, every disruption in supply, has sent ripples across its economy. To break free from this vulnerability, India has turned its focus to the resources it possesses in abundance: sunlight, wind, rivers, and biomass. These are not merely alternatives, they are opportunities to redefine energy security. The expansion of solar power across the nation's vast landscapes, from deserts to rooftops, is more than an engineering achievement. It is a declaration of independence, a statement that India will fuel its progress on its own terms. The scale of India's renewable ambitions is unprecedented. Massive solar parks spread across states, wind farms dot coastal regions, and ambitious targets for green hydrogen signal a new era. This scale matters because it demonstrates that sustainability is not a niche experiment, but the core of national planning. The shift is not symbolic, it is practical, measurable, and transformative. For millions of households, access to renewable energy brings light, connectivity, and opportunity where once there was only darkness. For industries, it promises stability and competitiveness in a global economy increasingly defined by carbon efficiency. And for the environment, it offers hope that development and preservation can coexist. Sustainable power is also deeply connected to innovation and technology. India is investing not only in generating clean energy, but also in developing the infrastructure to store and distribute it effectively. Advances in battery technology, smart grids, and digital monitoring are creating systems that are flexible, resilient, and efficient. This is crucial, for the transition to renewable energy is not merely about replacing one source with another, but about reimagining how energy flows through an economy. By becoming a leader in energy innovation, India positions itself not only as a consumer of technology, but as a creator of solutions that can be exported worldwide. Another dimension of this rise lies in its inclusivity. Sustainable energy projects are not confined to metropolitan cities or wealthy corporations. Rural communities are increasingly benefiting from decentralized renewable systems, microgrids powered by solar panels, biogas units providing clean cooking fuel, small hydro plants lighting up villages in remote areas. These initiatives are not just about electricity, they are about empowerment. Energy access transforms education, healthcare, communication, and livelihoods. When children can study after sunset, when clinics can refrigerate medicines, when farmers can power irrigation pumps without costly diesel, the benefits of sustainable energy extend far beyond kilowatts and megawatts. They touch the very fabric of human development. The rise of renewable power is also a statement of responsibility. As one of the largest and most populous nations, India cannot ignore its environmental footprint. The world is grappling with climate change, rising seas, and dwindling natural resources, and India's choices resonate far beyond its borders. By pursuing aggressive renewable targets, India signals to the world that development need not come at the expense of the planet. It shows that a nation can aspire to growth while also safeguarding its forests, rivers, and skies. This balance of ambition and responsibility enhances India's moral authority in global climate negotiations, giving it a voice not only as a developing nation with needs, but as a leader offering solutions. Economic opportunities also flow from this transformation. Renewable energy is one of the fastest-growing industries in the world, attracting investments, creating jobs, and driving technological advances. For India, the push towards sustainability generates employment for engineers, technicians, construction workers, researchers, and entrepreneurs. From manufacturing solar panels and wind turbines to innovating new energy storage systems, entire ecosystems of industry and commerce are emerging. This economic ripple effect ensures that the rise of sustainable power is not only about reducing emissions, but also about fueling prosperity. On the global stage, India's renewable journey strengthens its influence. As nations seek partners in the transition to green economies, India's experience and innovations become invaluable. Initiatives such as the International Solar Alliance, spearheaded by India, demonstrate its willingness to lead collective action, forging alliances that extend its reach and relevance. By becoming a hub for sustainable solutions, India transforms itself into a beacon for other nations navigating the same path, especially in the developing world where the challenges of growth and sustainability are most acute. Ultimately, the rise of sustainable power in India is a story of vision, resilience, and foresight. It is about seizing the gifts of nature and turning them into engines of progress. It is about protecting the environment not as a constraint, but as a foundation upon which enduring prosperity can be built. It is about redefining energy not as a vulnerability, but as a strength that carries with it the promise of independence, opportunity, and leadership on the world stage. India's bold stance in geopolitics is one of the defining elements of its emergence as a global power. For much of modern history, India has been perceived as a cautious participant in international affairs, balancing its interests with the pressures of a complex world order. But today, that perception is changing. India is stepping forward with confidence, asserting its voice in matters that shape not just its region, but the entire global landscape. This is not a stance of aggression, but of clarity, resilience, and vision, a recognition that the world respects nations that know their place in history and are unafraid to defend it. At the heart of this transformation lies India's ability to balance tradition with pragmatism. Rooted in a civilization that has endured for millennia, India carries with it a heritage of diplomacy, tolerance, and negotiation. Yet it also understands that in the 21st century, power must be demonstrated through decisive action, not just through words. This duality gives India an edge. It speaks the language of peace but acts with firmness when its sovereignty, security, or strategic interests are at stake. Such a posture makes it neither submissive nor reckless, but measured and bold, a nation that others must reckon with, not dismiss. India's boldness is most visible in its approach to regional dynamics. Situated in one of the most contested geographies of the world, surrounded by powerful neighbors and volatile conflicts, India has chosen to project strength rather than vulnerability. India no longer negotiates from a position of weakness. It negotiates as a stakeholder whose participation is indispensable. This boldness is also evident in India's diplomatic choices. If neglected, it can lead to disillusionment, unrest, and wasted potential. The stakes could not be higher, for the future of India is inseparably tied to the empowerment of its youth and workforce. At the foundation of this empowerment lies education, not just in its traditional sense, but in its most dynamic and evolving form. The young generation of India must be equipped with more than academic knowledge. They must be taught skills that allow them to think critically, adapt quickly, and innovate continuously. Schools and universities must go beyond rote learning to cultivate creativity, problem solving, and resilience. The integration of technology into education, the expansion of digital platforms, and the effort to bring quality learning to rural and remote areas are all part of this vision. An empowered youth is one that can transform knowledge into action, theory into practice, and ambition into tangible achievement. Beyond education, skill development becomes the bridge that connects learning with opportunity. The demands of a modern economy are rapidly changing, driven by technology, globalization, and shifting industries. Traditional jobs are being replaced, while entirely new sectors are emerging. India's workforce must be prepared to navigate this landscape with confidence. Initiatives that train youth in coding, artificial intelligence, renewable energy systems, healthcare, and advanced manufacturing are not luxuries but necessities. These programs ensure that the workforce is not trapped in outdated models but is instead positioned at the forefront of global industries. Empowerment comes not from preparing for yesterday's economy, but from equipping for tomorrow's. Employment is the ultimate measure of empowerment. In doubt, a nation's youth cannot flourish if opportunities remain scarce or unevenly distributed. For India, job creation is both a challenge and a priority. By fostering entrepreneurship, supporting startups, encouraging small and medium enterprises, and inviting global investment, India is expanding the avenues through which its young population can contribute. Entrepreneurship, in particular, holds a unique place in this narrative. When young people are given the tools, mentorship, and resources to build their own enterprises, they do not merely seek jobs, they create them. This culture of entrepreneurship multiplies opportunities, spreads innovation, and builds resilience within the economy. Empowerment of the workforce also requires dignity and security. Workers must not only be employed, but must feel valued, respected, and protected. Fair wages, safe working conditions, access to health care, and opportunities for growth are all part of creating a workforce that is motivated and productive. Without dignity, work becomes exploitation. With dignity, it becomes a source of pride and purpose. India's ability to create such an environment determines whether its workforce will become a restless mass or a dynamic engine of progress. Equally important is the empowerment of women within the youth and workforce. A nation cannot achieve its true potential if half of its population is restricted by barriers of tradition, discrimination, or lack of opportunity. Women in India are increasingly stepping into roles of leadership, entrepreneurship, science, technology, and politics, but much more remains to be done. Expanding access to education for girls, creating safe and inclusive workplaces, and supporting women-led enterprises are essential steps. When women participate fully in the workforce, the economic and social gains are not incremental but transformative, multiplying across generations. The spirit of empowerment also lies in instilling confidence and identity. Young people must believe not only in their individual abilities, but also in the strength of their nation. They must see themselves contributors to a larger vision as agents of change who are shaping history. Programs that encourage civic participation, leadership training, cultural pride, and community service instill this sense of belonging and purpose. Empowerment is not only economic, it is emotional, cultural, and spiritual. A confident youth believes in its own worth, and such belief fuels ambition that transcends personal boundaries and fuels national progress. Technology is playing a central role in this empowerment. From mobile connectivity that links villages to cities, to digital payment systems that open financial access, to online platforms that provide global exposure, technology is democratizing opportunity. Young innovators and workers in India are increasingly connected to global markets, knowledge systems, and cultural exchanges. This exposure ensures that their aspirations are not limited by geography. A young person in a remote Indian village can learn coding, sell products online, or collaborate with peers worldwide. This global connectivity expands horizons and empowers individuals in ways unimaginable in previous generations. Yet empowerment must also confront challenges head-on. Unemployment, inequality, and the mismatch between education and industry demand remain significant obstacles. Addressing these requires consistent policy, long-term vision, and relentless implementation. It requires collaboration between government, private sector, academia, and communities. Each plays a role in creating an environment where youth and workers can thrive. The challenge is immense, but the opportunity is greater still, for never before has a nation held in its hands such a vast reservoir of human potential waiting to be unleashed. Technological advancements driving change in India symbolize a transformation that is reshaping the nation at every level, from the way its citizens live and work to the way it engages with the world. Technology has become the great equalizer, the bridge between aspiration and achievement, and the force that allows a country of immense diversity to find common ground in progress. For India, a land where ancient traditions coexist with futuristic ambitions, technology is not just a tool but a catalyst, a means of accelerating development and ensuring that no corner of the nation is left untouched by the winds of change. At the center of this transformation lies the digital revolution. In little more than a decade, India has moved from a country where access to the internet was limited to a privileged few to a society where hundreds of millions are connected daily. Affordable smartphones, widespread mobile networks, and low-cost data have redefined accessibility. Villages that once stood isolated now have access to the same information as urban centers, bridging the divide that separated rural and urban communities for centuries. This democratization of technology has empowered individuals to participate in markets, access education, and communicate across vast distances, placing opportunity quite literally in the palms of their hands. The rise of digital infrastructure has also transformed governance. With initiatives such as Digital India, technology is bringing transparency, efficiency, and accountability into the machinery of the state. Services that were once slow, opaque, or inaccessible are now streamlined through digital platforms. Subsidies, welfare benefits, and financial assistance reach citizens directly through digital channels, eliminating intermediaries and reducing corruption. The Aadhaar system, though debated, has given millions an identity that enables them to access services they were previously excluded from. Technology in governance has thus become a tool of empowerment, creating trust between citizens and the state while ensuring inclusivity. In the economic sphere, technological advancements are fueling growth across industries. India has become a hub for innovation in areas such as fintech, e-commerce, renewable energy, and biotechnology. Startups are harnessing technology to create solutions tailored to India's unique challenges, from digital payment platforms that serve the unbanked to agricultural apps that guide farmers with real-time data on weather and markets. Young Indians are growing up in a world where possibility feels limitless, where ideas can be transformed into reality with speed and scale, and where barriers of class, location, and access are steadily eroding.